Check, 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 check.
Move my body like you. I might seem like you do,
But I'm not.
See, I came from afar to the place where we are, searching for a star I might never find, and I will never be like you.
I'm a beautiful alien.
No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. Beautiful lady, beautiful lady, beautiful lady, and I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. I was always this way, of the path led astray, in a wonderful state of mind. See, I came from afar to the place where we are, searching for a star I might never find, and I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. Beautiful lady. Beautiful lady, and I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. Beautiful lady.
All right. All right. Hi, fellow humans. I am Darude and I'm in my studio. The track I just played, it's called Beautiful Alien. And it's going to be keep playing in the background until I get my beginning monologue sorted here. Thanks for joining in the studio, my stream where I show you my deepest and darkest secrets. No, tools and tips and tricks of my trade, and sometimes just straight up work and let you watch over my shoulder. Today I'm going to be breaking down this track. It's called Beautiful Alien, and it was released as the first single of my album Moments in 2015, and it was written by myself, a guy called Stefan Abba in Copenhagen, and Maja Daniela Andersson, i.e. I Am, featuring I Am, she's the singer, and then a guy called Ubiz. And it happened at a writing camp in Copenhagen in Denmark, and I fell in love with the little demo thing that ABBA played us Maya started writing vocals immediately, or they actually wrote the vocals together, Maya, Ubis and ABBA. And then when I got home from the Danish writing camp, I basically started messing around with anything and everything that there was to it. The bass line was quite similar to this final one that we came up with. And several things were similar, but then again I added good bit to it here as well. And also ABBA came from Denmark here to my home and to my studio for a couple of days to work on this track and another track as well. So it's maybe refined it a little bit at that point then as well. And so what does the stream say? Play Sandstorm. Yes, of course I will. So yeah. Crin, maybe Midnight Train one of these times. And I've written some notes down. So this was made in June, or started in June 2014. And then at that time, I was working with my Mac Pro 2009, a Genelec 1030A speakers and 7070A sub, which were the ones before these guys. And ABBA works in Logic as well, so it was sort of easy to work on his project there in Copenhagen. And then when I came back, I was just opening the project, so what I didn't have file or like plugin wise, and he bounced me stuff that or converted to something that I could use. And the whole thing was quite cool. I really sort of fell in love with the original idea of the track that we were working on there. But then when I came here and I started thinking about it, and I was just racking my brain what to do with it, like what would be the final form. And then all of a sudden it dawned on me that the chord progression in the beginning is very similar to Sandstorm chord progression. It's not the same, and it's actually not, there's a crucial change that it's not the same vibe, but I could use it to my advantage. Also, Sandstorm is an E minor track and this is an F minor, so I wouldn't have to transpose far to try stuff out. So I did this. So I know that sounds very similar, and that is by design. I changed the original progression just a little bit so I could get closer to Sandstorm here. And I was sort of playing a little bit of a cheeky bastard there, and also planning a little bit on I don't know what you would say, like on a business side of it as well, because there had been like 7 or 8 years since my last album release, and I figured that maybe I could get some I don't know, exposure / people will recognize the sound. So that was not the only thing I did. I actually modeled the beginning of the track quite after Sandstorm radio edit. So we start from here.
I can smile like you
Those bangs are
body like you
basically from Sandstorm, a little modernized version like that.
you too, but I'm not.
The pad coming up is that kind of thing.
See, I came from afar to the place where we are.
This arc is similar,
I might never find,
but
and I will
here we go to the rhythm stays the same, but chords are not anymore.
know I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. I'm
And here the original bass line starts, which is very not similar at all. Snarkeen? That's a polite question. I would argue, Snarkeen, that if you haven't heard of me or somebody else in the last few years, that then also tells how well you can Google and such. I've played more gigs in the last couple of years than I have earlier, and I've released a couple of pieces of music. I took part in Eurovision Song Contest last year, with which I released 3 songs that were contenders for the main event. And if Sandstorm is the only track you know of me, that explains it. You're not really interested in the whole package, but you've just been stuck on that one track, which is fine as well. I don't mind that at all, but I've done a couple of other things as well. Cool. So let's start breaking down the track. There is, like I said, there are similarities sort of by design to my track Sandstorm, but then they end there in a radio edit in the half-minute or so mark, or go in the background, because this track obviously has a full vocal. The BPM is completely different. This is 127 and Sandstorm original is 136. And then the bass line starts and everything kind of goes to very far from, let's see. So this bass line was the thing that I first sort of started liking. There's a sub, there's a top one. This comes from Spire. There's a synth that supports it, and then there's okay, so and then we have just a kick drum, which is 2 kicks. It's the high kick, which is like this kind of tick from another kick one, and then a low end from another one. There's a synth that is sort of super saw-ish. This is from Nexus. And it's basically just a shorter version of the, or like a little tweaked version of the Airwave trans saws. So that fits here. It's accompanied by highly detuned. Highly detuned sound that is called traffic. I wonder where that comes from. Oopsie.
I'm a beautiful lady. I know I will never be like you.
And then there's this ARP. This ARP I brought in later, and I thought it was cool because initially this was very much, well, first of all, 127 BPM. It is lower in energy just because of the BPM. And then the drums are, they were very much on ones and fours basically. So I added a shaker that brings a little bit more speed and more groove, and then I added the ARP bass line, and this being like a 16th note bass line, it also adds a good bit of roll to it. It's interesting, there's a sound here. It's in Vanguard, which actually is not easily available anymore because it's a 32-bit plugin. But you could use a plugin bridge to use that, but I don't know if that works with Catalina OS after this. I wonder where that name comes from, Lethal. Streamer Styles, hello!
I was always this way, off the path led astray, in a wonderful state of mind. See, I came from afar to the place
I've
where
got a
we
bass
are.
roll call track supporting this. This is from the original project. Then we had these. This is an EP sound from Contact Clavinet, actually, and not really an EP, but so I've added an amp on it. Sounds almost like a guitar in time. And so here we start building up. Drums and then effects, of course. So Max DB, this actually was not one of the longest ones to make for me, surprisingly. I went to Copenhagen in June 2014. I was there for a weekend and came back with 6 to 8 tracks that were possible ones for my upcoming Moments album, and this one was one of them, and I think I jumped on this first. And when I came home, I don't know if it was the next day but soon after, I sat in the studio and I was done with the basic track quite quickly, maybe a day, maybe two, but then there was fine tuning, various arrangements. Actually, I have two different mixes of this. The other one is with this basically that has two similar melodic drops, and the other one is one that has, the second one is similar to this, but the first drop is more monotonous. It's more like supposed to be more banging and monotonous in a club setting, and then when you go to the second breakdown and then it opens up from there, it opens up even a little more. So there were things where I was thinking, for instance, that which one I should do, which one would be better, but then we decided that we would go the more commercial route, i.e. two melodic builds or drops, and then I made the other one for myself for club play as well, but they both were released. And so that kind of tweaking took a good while, a couple of weeks. And then Abba, when he came here as well, we still took a look at the project while he was here. So I would say in total, from Denmark writing camp to being a done track, maybe a month on and off. But I mean, don't get me wrong, it's not days in the studio for a month. It's just several sessions and going back and forth a little bit. But once I sort of cracked and decided to use the Sandstorm likeness in those couple of spots, then it came together really quickly, because those were sort of the things that were missing. Like honestly, like my record company A&R was like, it's a great track, but we want something a little more grabbing or something like that. And so it was a matter of finding a hook sound that would grab you from the first second or something like that. But then came up with those Sandstorm like chords, and then obviously the record company A&R is like, hey, that's not a bad idea, because whether it's musically sound or not, which in this case it is, but it's also a known sort of vibe, to add that in this track, it, I guess, worked well for them as well. But at that point, we were both happy though, because they didn't make me do it, they didn't force me to do it, and I just tried it out. And then when it sort of musically worked with the track, it was actually funny to introduce the track then to the general music listening public and see if they notice it or what do they think of it. And I'm actually really, the biggest surprise of this track and presenting it as my new single then was that people took it so well. Because I was sort of worried that some people would be like, oh, you're just trying to ride the Sandstorm wave. But I think it was just enough in the beginning to grab, like, hey, hold on, I recognize that, or whatever, or hey, that's Sandstorm, or whatever. But then as the track goes to the drop and whatnot, you realize that that's not a copy of it at all, in a sense that well, yeah. So a lot of people basically were happy with those sounds, or gave me compliments of sort of using them to my advantage, but it wasn't littered with the whole thing. So then, what else do we have here? I have the effects, and I put them in a bus. Those are very similar to some old stuff. There's a pitch up,
Beautiful lady,
and so it's very sort of simple. A little bit of sweep down as well, and with the kicks and booms where need be. Go into the breakdown. Okay. And then the vocal. Maya is an incredible singer. We actually, oh yeah, that was one thing. We had the first verse,
I can smile like you
or both the verses,
move my body,
but then there was an
like you.
additional thing that I requested.
I might seem like you too, but I'm not.
So this chorus thing basically,
Beautiful
starting here.
lady, beautiful lady, beautiful lady, beautiful lady, and I will never be like you.
Rob, I am so sorry, not sorry.
No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady.
And it's funny, I don't know if you guys can see this now. I have these sound bits of the vocal. They say, I feel love among the stars, but it's actually, that's how I heard it the first time, but it says, I belong among the stars. And so that was an additional vocal bit. We first had it like an instrumental drop.
No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady.
Where is that blip coming from? I have an issue with that.
I'm a beautiful lady.
I don't know.
Beautiful lady, beautiful lady, beautiful lady, and I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady.
And so of the vocal, I had doubles of the takes. So for instance here,
I'm a beautiful lady, I'm a beautiful lady, I'm a beautiful lady, I'm a beautiful lady.
what I usually do is I select the sort of the best take timing, feeling and intonation wise, and that's the center one, and then I do doubles to the left and right, and obviously they can't be bad either, but it's like the vibe that is the best is on the center one. That's the strongest and loudest, thickest, but then I have hard pan left and right.
I'm a beautiful lady, I'm a beautiful lady.
Where, like you can hear, I allow a little bit of timing difference, and technically I go through every vocal bit if it needs actual proper tuning or not, which Maya doesn't really require. But when you do double vocal takes and mix them together, you need to go through them. But with the left and right far doubles, I usually let them be a little looser anyways, because that creates
I'm a beautiful lady,
a good effect of space and width.
I'm a beautiful lady and I'm a beautiful.
And then I had a separate filtered one.
I'm a beautiful lady and I'm a beautiful lady and I'm a beautiful lady and beautiful lady and no, I will never be like you.
The same here, the vocal lead and double left and right, they just...
No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady and 'cause I feel love among the stars.
This one here,
'Cause I feel love among the stars.
this one here, I actually got bounced from ABBA directly, so I didn't do the summing or the mixing into or from 3 different takes, but it's still sort of treated the same on his end, though he recorded it and sent it over. We have Space Designer, which is Logic's own reverb unit, H delay, which is Waves delay, and another Space Designer that has a little different kind of reverb, and I'm using buses to send off these vocal tracks to those delay and reverb units.
I'm a beautiful lady and 'cause I feel love among the stars. Beautiful lady and 'cause I feel love among the stars. Beautiful lady and I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady and no, I will never be like you.
Okie dokie. Here, simple trick. You could do this with tremolo and automation and another delay unit. But what I've done here is I have the lead vocal.
I might seem like you too, but I'm not.
And after the next phrase,
You see, I came from afar to the place where we are, searching for a star I might never find.
so what I did here was instead of like automating a gain, I mean a delay plugin, either insert or in a bus, I just literally took bits of
Where
We Are and put them on another track, put a panner automation on it, so I wanted left first,
place where we are,
right, left, and going towards the center a little bit, and then they have a little bit of their own reverb as well, otherwise treated the same as, and then here different. And the reason why I didn't use a delay here, a plugin, is because the next one, that's an hold on, that's a 4th, I guess, or whatever it is, and then this is a quicker one. That's like a triplet speed, and that one is a different speed. And then also I tuned that fine, so that it's, I think I tuned it maybe in Melodyne. I like doing a lot of that kind of little stuff, and I often edit and process in place audio so that I can avoid some of the automation stuff that can be tricky. And even if it's not tricky to do, but then if you need to move it or copy and paste it somewhere, it also, of course, or often can get sort of messed up.
and I will never be like you. I'm a
This bass line is from Spire. It's called Invoice. This is automated. Oh, and that, I believe I have, hold on a sec. Boom, bassline, kickstart. What is it doing again? Yeah, so I have Space Designer as the last effect on that channel, and Space Designer is automated to go more and more wet here. You check the wet, it gets more and more wet. And then it goes back to 0. So I often do sort of reverb washes towards some sort of buildup like this, so the sound gets thinner because it gets more wet with reverb. There are actually better plugins to do that, which have just dry wet slider, one slider, and not dry and wet separately. But I just used that sound here because I liked how that reverb sounded, I guess. It's a long time ago. And here there's I used a glide automation on. So in Spire, when it goes from one note to the other, it actually glides to it. Normally there's very little glide on this, just a little bit, but.
Beautiful lady, and I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady, no, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. I was always this way, of the path led.
This one was sort of a hard thing to decide on. I simply like the sound a lot for some reason. And I first, at this point, going to this second break, that was the first time I'm using it on the track. Because there's like this, I don't know, this rule that you want to have stuff coming in that people sort of anticipate already or know that it's going to be there. It doesn't apply to anything and everything, but so sometimes introducing new sound like over halfway of the track or something is kind of weird. And then in the beginning, I wasn't sure if I'm going to use it anywhere else, but I just wanted to have it here.
I'm a beautiful lady. I was always this way, of the path led astray, in a wonderful state of mind.
So I put it there anyways, and initially it was only there for that spot, but then I mean, it's logical, it is there later as well. I used the. And so here, here I played with a little bit because it's a strong sound, but at this point it's coming in the middle here, almost in the middle, because it's alone there. But then when I play it here later, first it's the same. Well, actually, yeah, it only comes there later. And this sound is almost in a center, or is in a center, but then when the other sound starts, they go so if you play them centered, it sounds really, really crowded, especially for the vocal. But when you have them go wide, no. Did I crash Logic? I had this happen before today. Oh well. So I'm gonna boot. I'm gonna have to force quit Logic and reboot it. I don't know why. There might be an old plugin that is causing some grief, maybe the Vanguard. Marana, my Mac didn't crash. Also not Logic that crashed, it's a plugin that makes it crash. And I'm happy if your PC never ever crashes and you don't have ever any problems with it. Don't blame Vanguard. Yeah, but it's been obsolete for like 6 years now, you know. So the thing about Vanguard is that it's a 32-bit plugin, which technically shouldn't even be running anymore. And it was actually the Waves Paths analyzer that I tried to take off. Yeah, we crash again, that's it then. All right. Nice. I'm not going to touch that plugin anymore. Yeah, Paths Analyzer was on one of those channels, and trying to open it caused the thing. I don't know why. I've just used it the other day in another project, so I don't know. Hi Nick, what's going on, brother? Congrats on the new tech purchase incoming. All right, so I'll just not touch that thing. Silly me trying it another time. I don't even remember what I was trying to show, but it's okay. So last week I sort of started a thing, and I think I'm going to be doing it when I do these studio sessions. Do like a tip of some sort or a couple. And so here's one of that comes to mind now looking at this project. I think I'll show a couple of things. This sound called traffic. It is just like this here. Sort of a detuned saw kind of thing. All right, and when it is on its own, like here, it does that. But I've got it sidechained from bus number 5, which is vocal bus. That's a C6. And let me, I'm gonna guide the vocal to no output so you hear what this is doing. This is a technique that I use quite a lot all the time, especially in busier mixes, and it helps with letting something that you want cut through better than without it, of course. The Warrior NL, I'm great, thank you. How are you? So, the vocal bus triggers this, and this is a compressor, and it's a multiband compressor, and the range is, the frequency center is 21K, 2100 hertz, that is 2100 hertz, and it's just it's quite a wide frequency band, and when the vocal is on around that 2.1K, every time the vocal is on, it pushes this down, and I've set the range here. This C6 is a little bit of a different, but when you get your head around it, it's kind of like it doesn't have, well, it has a threshold, but it also has a range parameter. So if you set the threshold of the compressor so high that it just would do tons of gain reduction, say 10 dBs or 20 dBs gain reduction, you can set it to a range of 6 dBs, for instance, only, or 3 like I have here. What that means is that you could just play with that if you want. It's sort of, you can play with the dynamics of the gain reduction and threshold. I don't know how to say that better, but if you want it to only be gain reduction of 3 dBs, you can do that, even though the threshold would be higher than what the actual threshold alone would cause, like say 6 or 10 dBs. Anyway, so look at the, you hear the vocal. When it says I would never be like you, the vocal ends, and then that little dip in the curve is going down. So it just means that the compressor releases and then it lets everything out. So this is a very, very small effect, but let me do it more for you so you can hear it better. And so if I solo this, so those of you who know a little bit of production or these kind of things, you now at least probably heard how that does it and what it does. And the cool thing is that, so you can make a little bit of room if you do like 3 dBs or something on that kind of range. You don't notice those upper, well, mids or whatever range that is, around 2K missing, because the vocal comes in and masks that. But in real life, in technical terms, it gives a little bit of dip in those frequencies of the synth, so those frequencies of the vocal can cut through better. So I had it around 3 dBs, and then now we can listen to it with the vocal and see if we can hear the difference.
I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady.
You could actually have it a little more than 3 and it's still sort of quite inaudible. Okay, so another thing with the same kind of technique is I have this Nord ARP sound here. And we can actually use the same, is there, let's see. Yeah, that's a good spot. And I have a track stack of that as well. There's 2 of them. You can actually do this easier now, but Logic has updated a thing since I last worked on this, or back then worked on this. So what I did was I did 2 of the same exact tracks with this ARP sound. It actually comes from ES2, the Logic's native virtual analog type of synth. And what I did was I used Waves Center on both. One has the sides pulled down, leaving just the mid in, so that's the center. And the other one has a center pulled down, leaving just the side. So I have the same sound divided to center or mid. Like you notice, this is dead mono. And then if you do the other one, now this is just the sides that you're listening to together. Okay, so now I have the C6 sidechain on both of them. It's also triggered by the vocal. And what I've done here is that I have the center or the mid triggered more. So there's 4 dBs, I think it can take 5 dBs or something like that. This is a little wider frequency range, but basically it's doing the same thing, but it's doing more on the mid band where the vocal lead sits pretty much always. So the dry vocal in the center comes through better, and this is taken out from there, from those frequencies. The Maya's range, upper range, where there's a little bit of already like sibilants and a good bit of like consonants and whatever, like the stuff that you hear and define the music or the vocals. And then it's just taking like measly 1.5 dB of the sides, which sort of is a little bit, but not much at all. And what it does is that you can take more from the center because the sides are still there, and it's perceived that that sounds, that frequency range is actually still in the picture while it's not that much in the center. So the same thing if we listen to the vocal.
I'm a beautiful lady and I will never be like you.
We take out the sides.
I'm a beautiful lady and no, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful.
So those are little few dBs here, few dBs there that affect the final mix quite a lot, because you can squeeze something through better, and the mixing comes a little, or the mix gets a little clearer of those things that need to shine through better.
I will never be like you.
But if you are a Logic user today, or for a couple of years already, now you can do this actually not dividing, not needing 2 channels. But Logic has a new feature, well, not a new feature, but there's a new feature in Logic that is called dual mono, and you could do the same thing with going to waves, going to with C6, stereo sidechain, actually mono sidechain and dual mono. So look what happens now. It opens the same thing, but then you can configure this so that it's not, it's mid-side, and now in the same actual plugin interface you can go side and mid, and then when you change between those, now it actually is within one channel that you can divide it to two different plugins. So you're treating the mid and side within one plugin in two windows, the same way that I've done it separately here. And it's just neater and nicer to do it like that. You can automate the same, you can do everything the same, but it's kind of neater. It doesn't take two tracks, and you don't have to do a, say, like I've done a, what do you call that, stack or folder. So, by the way, thanks Rob for reminding me of the Discord thing. Discord.gg/Darude is my Discord, and I am working towards getting more and more active there. And I've also figured out a couple of things about some incentives. For instance, there is a Gabriel and Dresden remix of a track called Waiting for Winter that I did a couple of years ago. There's actually Twitch streams of that if you go 2 years back or so, and you can find or see me working on it. But that's one of those tracks that I've actually got a permission from Dave and Josh, but also Anjuna Beats, to share it with whoever I want. And I thought of putting it on SoundCloud and share it there, but you know what? I'm actually going to put it in my sub-only Discord channel at some point soon. And I also have checked out, I have some sample packs, or not packs, samples and sample instruments that I'm going to be sharing on the sub-only channel. And in the future as well, when I get a release out, it will be there a few days, maybe a week earlier than the actual Spotify release. And whatever other content like that I can figure out, I'll be happy to share for the subs. And because now my Twitch and Discord is linked, I'm going to be just doing like that you're using the Discord sub-only channel for doing that. And then I thought of also trying one of these times so that, you know, now Discord can do even video chat. So we could do a sub-only video chat on, say, my phone or the other computer while we're doing the stream here. And I could even pull the picture so that the non-subs can see that. Everybody can still take part, follow and chat, but then it could be a smaller circle of us maybe talking for a while. And that could be fun. And what else do I have there? That's, I guess, it. And then we could also do just sometime, if I have time and we have a good thing going, maybe do like sub-only chat just outside of live streaming as well. But don't worry, I will be here and the channel will be free. Just join anyways and follow here. The sub thing is just to give a little bit of extra for those who feel like that's their game and wanna jump into that with me. And one of the things that I want to do, and I'm going to do a sample pack at some point, a preset pack, full on, that is going to be for sale. But I thought that I could work on that on streams sometimes, and I could give a little bit of taste of that in a sub only chat as well. I mean, everybody can see me creating stuff if I'll work on stream, but then maybe give a little bit of taster of those actual things that are going to be ending up on the sample pack there as well. Cool. So that was one of those tricks. I use that every time that almost every track has something like this, where I use side chaining, triggering like a vocal triggering a synth pad that goes down and gives room, or big saw lead or something like that. And the thing is that human hearing works the way where we almost always tune into vocal. So for instance, this kind of thing, you won't notice. You can take, 2, 3, 4 dBs out of a certain range, especially if it's just under where the vocal is at its, where you're most tuned to the vocal, then you don't realize that something is missing from underneath of another sound. And it just can help that 1 or 2 dBs even can help the vocal cut through just right. You can do the same thing and you can actually get cool effects, where if you would have like a full-on pad sound that is sustained, but then you play a lead on top of that, it's more attacky and shorter release, and then you play that, but that lead triggers the pad so that the pad ducks down, or a certain frequency range ducks down, and then when it comes back to a certain release time. So you can adjust the release time, so it could be immediate or it could be come back in sort of breathing and pumping. And if you find, usually it's something to the tune of 110, 120 milliseconds, or maybe double that or something like that, in a BPM range of 125 to 130 something. It's a multiple of whatever it is, around 110, 120 milliseconds, and you can make it pump to the beat or breathe to the beat or something like that. More attacky, yeah. I'm getting all carnage here, sorry guys. But I think his native tongue is English, so yeah. More louder, thumpier. Cool. I had 3 ES2 synths, 10 Logic samplers, 1 sculpture. I used a ton of channel EQ from Logic, ton of tape delay, stereo delay, and tape designer on this one. There was 2 silent plugs. There was 8 Spire ones, 1 Nexus, 1 Vanguard, and then Contact, one of them. That's where the EP or clavinet came from. There's Wave Max Bass, Wave R channel. R channel is all over the vocals. That's actually how, in the beginning, ABBA treated Maya's vocals, and I just left them there and did whatever I needed, some EQ and some stuff on top of them. I use Wave Center quite a lot, and Waves R-Verb, and Waves S1 Imager is amazing to spreading some sounds out to the sides a little more, making them wider, and it's really nice. It doesn't mess up the mono compatibility unless you really overdo it. So the C6 multiband compressor, and then I used Vitamin, which is a Waves exciter, and so I'll show this sound here, for instance.
I will never be like.
Where are we there? So this sound is quite, it's not mono, but it's quite unexciting. And in the center, it's actually the Sandstorm patch of JP8080, but when you sample it note by note and dry, it's not that exciting. It gets more exciting when you do a little bit of stereo spreading, a little bit of reverb and delay and whatnot. And with this one, the Vitamin, it's a 5-band exciter where you can both like harmonically excite. I don't actually know what the algorithms are, how they work, but it's an exciter, so it does something harmonically, adds whatever second or some harmonics to the sound, and it's 5 bands of that. And it also is a stereo image widener, or you can make it more narrow with that. With this, if you check this out, starting from 500 hertz. I've pushed all of these up a little bit to get this sound a little brighter, a little more brighter, Nick. But what I've also done is I've pushed starting from the lowest one, or the mid one, but the lowest one that I've excited, the stereo image a little wider still, and then just going crazy. Well, this is a subtle effect all in all. But I highly recommend it. It's really nice if you have a sound in a mix that needs a little bit like mid or high end boost to cut through. Often exciting it with this, like exciting one band, doesn't make it louder. It just makes those frequencies cut through better. And if you add like a little bit of high end sizzle, or 2 to 3K range or something like that, that might be what you need. And it doesn't overtake the mix, and it doesn't become like you don't have to push everything louder. That's JP8080, where what says JP8080? There's one here. This one is, what is that? Well, that's the the JP8080 8080 is a synth. JP8000 rack version is called 8080, and the sound called Sandstorm, which is not these days anymore a secret, is the first sound of one of the banks, and that's actually this sound that I used in Sandstorm. There is no Sandstorm patch in Vengeance Bank, or maybe there is. They've ripped off a lot of stuff or done similar things. But I mean, it's not that difficult, really. That's just a super saw with good bit of detuning, and today, with today's hardware and software and algorithms, you can definitely imitate it. And then, I mean, well, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that as well. Manuel Schleich has asked me for a couple of things as well, but yeah. What I said about, listen to this without the delay and Vitamin and S1 Imager. That's how it comes out of the synth if you just do it dry. Then I added stereo delay here. Then S1 Imager. And then Vitamin. Well, if Vengeance has a Sandstorm bank in their bank, then they've ripped it off, or they've redone it somehow, well, which is not difficult, of course, because you can see how it's done on a JP8000. But that is not a Vengeance original sound, but it came with the Roland JP8000 and 8080. All right, so what else do I have written down?
Beautiful lady,
So then H delay is one of my favorite Waves plugins. It's just a simple, nice sounding delay. You can have it rather clean and nice, but you can also make it sound, I don't know, I don't like the idea of that, but like analog. You can make it sound dirtier or muddier or more alive, which is cool. Valhalla Vintage Verb is one of my favorite plugins for reverb. I use that a lot. And in this particular project, I use LFO Tool, Kickstart, and Vengeance Producer Suite multiband sidechain. All of those three things do sidechain ducking type envelope thing. And so that's where, for instance, here, the pumping comes from. This is the original version of, it's the Kick 1, the Nicky Romero version, but you can do the same with LFO Tool, for instance. And then that was probably it. So what happened when I got the track done was that I made stems of it, or actually not stems, tracks. I bounced each and every track as they are now, pretty much. So with the vocal, actually the vocals I did without any reverb and delay, but I made notes what I did with them. And then I did a full vocal bounce so that we could compare. Every other track, I believe I bounced sort of as is, and then some of the crucial ones like lead something or the Nord lead or whatever it was, I bounced both wet and dry versions. So basically I just soloed a track and then hit bounce of the whole project, so the whole length of 166 bars or whatever it is, bounced it, and then I took those tracks, basically this project sounding as is, but just wave files, to Fright Studios in Helsinki, where Arttu Pelio, one of their finest mixers, took this from 0.99 to 1.0 or 1.2 version. So we mixed it together. Well, he mixed it, but I was there and we were, you know, sort of thinking what to do. And one of the things that I wanted, I hadn't actually released anything in a long time at that point. So I wanted second set of ears mixing wise, and I wanted it not to be really, really, really squeezed and zero dynamic range. I wanted it to sound good, but be, you know, relatively loud anyways. And he mixed it really well. I learned something, and I was happy that I did that. And then there was mastering by my trusted Henkka Niemistö at the Chartmakers, and the single was then a little later released. Yeah, I checked out the Valhalla Supermassive as well. It's pretty cool. Yeah, Rains Phoenix, you probably mean something like this. Let me show you. Let me show you. Let's do actually the bass line that I was just showing. Let's do this, or this one here. We need the frequencies full for it. Okay, so here we go. I'm gonna take the kickstart off. So see, now there's no ducking at all, but I'm using this, these days, I'm using this thing called shaper box. That might be what Ruben was meaning. And so now we have sidechain ducking happening. the same that before about. If you put the kick on, you hear it's where the kick is. There. Right? And I'm going to do one more thing here so that you can see. I'm going to open another shaper box, and this I use a lot like this as well. It doesn't really do anything. So if you look at the other shaper box that I just now opened, now you can see the kicks there, right? If I mute the kick, now you'll see, oh, not that. Now you'll see the bass line. And if I now bypass this, okay, so now I'll put the shaper box back again, but what's cool about this is that it has 3 frequency bands, so I can do this and that, and I can decide that, hey, I would like the low end to duck fully. Let's just put 12 dB crossover filter there. So now the low end actually is ducking if you listen to it soloed, right? Mid frequency, not at all. High, not at all. But the low end is. So now technically it's just leaving space for the kick. But then we can, for the vibe, if we want to, we can add, say 50% for the center as well. But yeah, this is cool because you can treat different frequency ranges in different ways. And that's why I've moved to using pretty much this alone. And I have absolutely nothing against LFO tool. It's a great plugin. Also, Kickstart is nice. But this is just, I know this better than those, and I'm using it all the time. Yeah, of course. Yeah, Marana, that's true. So shaper box, this is called volume shaper, this module. There's 6 shapers, basically, that you can choose from. Time, crush, filter, pan, and width. And they all have the same kind of envelope view where you can load pre-made envelopes, or you can draw your own. And the pre-made envelopes you can tweak to your liking however you want, and you can do crazy shit with the whole thing. I highly recommend this, and it's actually a good thing that this came up, because I am going to tell you people right now that the last 2 shaper box bundle winners are Downforce and Hallow Fell. And now I have all the names. Static, Crin 25, Vicious Code, Ville Lope, Marana, Wild Days 16, Red Lion 91, K-Traps, Downforce, and Hallowell. I had this cool thing with Cable Guys, who are the makers of this amazing plugin. And they gave me 10 licenses to give away, and I made a little video for them. So here is a link to the video. You can check it out later. And Downforce, I need your email. I sent you a Discord message. Shoot me an email so I get your deets. If there was somebody else that heard or saw their name, check your Discord. I have the first 6 already, then the last 3 or 4 I was actually in contact with today, and I'm not sure if I got everybody's already. But anyway, the first 6 should have already gotten their license, and the last 4 I'm going to send in as soon as I get everybody's emails, so that I don't have to bug them several times. And and the only thing they want is for you guys to use this thing, and if you like it, feel free to speak the gospel of Shaperbox 2. And for disclaimer, I don't get money from them, and I actually have bought my first Shaperbox volume shaper first a couple of years ago, then an upgrade, and then before Shaperbox 2 came out a couple of months ago, they actually reached out to me and asked if I wanted to try it before it came out officially, and I did, and then I gave them comments, and then since then we've been talking, and they were kind enough to jump on this. I made a little video for them, and it's kind of like a scratch your back. They scratch mine. So I am speaking good of them because I like them, but also, to be fully fair, I have gotten the latest one from them. And by the way, some of these things I have in the works too. I'm trying to be good to these manufacturers or coders, and I'm actually talking freely about Waves and these guys and iZotope and whatever, and I'm in good terms with them, and I'm not exclusive to anybody, so maybe we'll get another giveaway from somebody else at some point. And what's cool about most of these companies, that they understand that, you know, you wouldn't only want to use, say, Cable Guy stuff. Even if you love one of their things, you don't only use Waves or only iZotope or whatever, but it's a mix and match of everything, and they've been very cool about that. Yeah, Marana, I really like the crush. Like, it's such a simple thing. Like doing just like a drum loop, and then trying doing the hard edit, not like just one drum hit or two drum hits, say claps, for instance, or one drum hit of the whole thing, and giving it, 20% or 50% of crush. So everything else is clean, but then when that hits, it's like crushed or something like that. That's quite cool. And then on top of that, if you add the others, I don't know, just the width or time, crush, anything, you can just design what like every single 16th, for instance, does, or whatever. It's really, really nice. With the filter, Marana, I don't know, or you others as well, if you have a problem with in your loop, like there's a frequency that you want just out of one of the drum hits, instead of editing it manually or putting the slices and swapping that, try the filter or try the volume shaper and try cutting that frequency out for just the shortest period of time you need to. So then the edit, or now this time the live edit, doesn't actually ruin the whole vibe of the loop or the whole sound, but you can only like just quickly cut in to even a narrow frequency band. It's really nice. It's really cool. If you have time to watch the video that I just left a link in the chat, you should find there's a couple of things that I do with Volume Shaper. Well, was it 4 or 5 things? And just workflow things, or things where I use cases. Cool. And then that is pretty much it for today, I think. Boom. Let me see my notes. We're all in this together. Those 2 tips were so. I'm knocking on wood here for you guys as well, but for me, Shaperbox seems to be very, very low on CPU. I use tons of them on my projects, and also it's so far been very stable. Hopefully in the future as well. But it's seems to be very nicely coded. Oh, one more thing I wanted to because I have my notes of these tracks that I break down. So here's a video of Beautiful Alien, and here is a Spotify link for it as well. A highlight. This is just about this track, but the writing camp in Copenhagen was definitely the whole highlight of, there were several tracks that I came up with or started there with the peeps. Be With You Tonight is one of them on the Moments album. But if you have a chance to do some sort of a writing camp, whether it's just one person with you, at a summer house somewhere or whatever it is, go do it. Like if you're able to do it, just, it doesn't have to be professional, or you don't have to think about it too much. Just go hang out somewhere with like-minded people, and even if you're worried about something or they are worried about something, don't stress, don't make tracks, just hang out, listen to stuff, show bits, like show this bass line, so show this, reverb tail, show whatever it is, like small bits that inspire you, and see how people feed off of your shit and the other way around. I also, like, my third album I produced myself, all of it basically. I had writing collaborators, and I had a little bit of production help with my buddies J16 and Heikki L on a track called Tell Me on it, but the rest of it was all me. But so then the fourth album, Moments, I actually, is it only 2 tracks that I fully produced myself. So I co-produced everything, and that was by design. That was my choice fully. I was in charge of everything. And this writing camp, like, there was one day that I didn't touch a keyboard, but I had 3 teams, different studio rooms that I went back and forth all the time, and I had, prepped them for what I want. I prepped them with like 20 or whatever ideas, track beginnings, samples and everything, and then we talked everything over. And for instance, Be With You Tonight, there was this bass line and synth groove, but there was nothing else in the beginning. But then I heard Will Sly Sylvester sing just this one line, one sentence, and it was Be With You Tonight, but that was it. And then I was like, look guys, I see a music video in my head. I know how this music video goes. And I explained to them the music video concept, and Be With You Tonight to me is still, and came to me as imagine, this is actually a little silly to tell right now because we all want to be out and partying, but normally imagine the biggest party ever, like Ultra or EDC or Tomorrowland or whatever is the thing where you are, the biggest masses of people and partying. Yes, now it sounds great, but at that time we didn't have the lockdown, so it's a little, you need to just go with me now. Be With You Tonight music video idea is starting from me being on stage, just like finishing my set, saying bye and seeing the masses. And then I walk off stage. And then I basically jump in a car and start going towards home to my family. And it should have been, or the music video would have been cutting between these people who are in a full office building and then going home to their loved one, or going home and walking their dog on the beach or whatever. And so it would be this anti-huge EDM drop music video. And while I have nothing against them, but that was the feeling that I got from the track or the beginning of the track that I heard. And it was so cool when we talked through this music video plot basically, and I explained what I saw and how I wanted that music video to be. And then the guys wrote lyrics to that, and then the like final chord progressions and final arrangement and everything came after my concept of a music video. And while I wasn't the one who actually did the synth riff that is so amazing in that track, I feel total ownership because the whole thing came after us chatting and me figuring out the music video. So because I'm just saying this, that as an electronic music artist, I've gone through several phases of things where at one point I was sort of under JS16's wing, and I so desperately needed his professional help and his friendship as well, and mentorship and whatnot. But then at one point I needed to produce an album myself, just to prove something to myself, I guess, and to others maybe as well, that I'm not just somebody under JS16's wing. But then once I got that out of my system, I all of a sudden just started like craving for the collaboration and try my wings with that, because I hadn't actually done that with other people than J16 and a couple of others that I worked with before. And it turned out it's so fruitful, and I so enjoy the fact that you can, once you get comfortable, you don't have to worry about not being able to perform at this moment if, you know, it's that kind of day, but it's the group that, you know, tosses in ideas and then you feed off of each other. And that's been very cool. And since then, I mean, I've been basically looking for those. I've produced myself, and I still do alone as well, but I've been looking for that thing that, like, you know, that person or that group at that specific time that gets what I'm trying to say or what I'm after, and even just catches a music video idea and goes with it, and then we'll make a track out of that. Cool. So, monologue number 5. Which track will I give a breakdown next? I'm not sure if that's going to be next Monday, but yes, I'll be doing these breakdowns. So far we've done Beautiful Alien, we've done music, we've done Out of Control, Calm Before the Storm, Next to You. What else did we do? Tell Me, I think. Anybody have a favorite Darude track outside of Sandstorm and Feel the Beat? Right now, I'm going to just say that because I'm not going to do those right now. I have a plan of doing at least Sandstorm, possibly Feel the Beat at some point as well. But okay, Rob is tossing out My Game. My Game. I'm going to just write it down right here. I can add that as well in my list. I'm going to take a couple of these. Okay, Bittersweet. Calm Before the Storm actually was done already, Atlas Rust. The original version. 3 weeks, 4 weeks ago maybe. Bittersweet is there. Okay. Well, it's cool. You guys are giving me so many now. I'm gonna just be a dictator and select. Cool. Oh, and then I did Look Away as well. You're correct, Crin. So Surrender, I ran. Oh, so those are getting a couple of votes. Okay, so I don't know if you remember last week, I was looking at them a little bit, you know, periodically, basically. So Bittersweet is oldest with Lost, and Passing By actually, yeah. So My Game and I Ran are on the same one. Surrender is on the later, well, one of the latest. So let's do Okay, let's do. How many did we get? Cool. We're going to do Iran and Bittersweet and Surrender. How's that? You guys cool with that? Iran, Bittersweet, and Surrender. And so I am going to go on Twitter right now. We can actually take a listen to this track while I'm doing that. Whoa, back there. Nope, not that. So Iran.
I can smile like you do, move my body like you. I might seem like you too, but I'm not. You see, I came from afar to the place where we are, searching for a star I might never find. And I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady.
Okay, let's do that then. Boom.
Beautiful lady. Beautiful lady. Beautiful lady. And I will never be like
Nice, Wild Ace.
I'm a beautiful lady. No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Sorry about guys.
I was
Profile,
always
boom.
this way, of the path led astray, in a wonderful state
That's the boat.
of mind. See, I came from afar to the place where we are, searching for a star I might never find. And I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. Beautiful lady. Beautiful lady. And I will
So
never be
for next week,
I'm a beautiful lady. No, I will never be like you. I'm a beautiful lady. Beautiful lady. I'm a beautiful lady.
All right, guys. So for next week too, those who are on my Discord and have been there, that's cool. The rest of you should also jump there. I'm gonna be checking the Discord throughout the week, and then of course last on like Sunday or Monday morning. But if there is any specific tips or things, techniques that you would like to ask from me for this bit, feel free, because I'm thinking that while we're going through these tracks like this, especially if I've used some of that stuff in the track, it's easy for me to show how I've done it or what I've done there. So feel free to shoot on the Discord a question. Just, I don't know, be as specific as you can, or what you want to achieve if you don't know how it's done or something like that. You can just drop a question. So then I will maybe be able to look at it on the stream and say how I would do it. And I think that's about it. I am so very thankful for you guys joining in. And now I'm going to go and join my family for a nice sauna and dinner and early to bed. I'm tired. Thanks, guys. See you on Wednesday. Dial it in, and we are going to be talking to you on WhatsApp and calling some of you crazies, and then I am going to be talking to a colleague of mine, and I will let you know a little later who that is. I am going to say bye.